see it and it's not showing up on your screen because it's supposed to be on the bottom left corner. So I have the towel. Yes. Hey, Milford.
Hi. How are you, lady?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Preview?
Very good to meet you in person. Likewise.
Other item. How are you? Well, I am. What about the lady that goes around and steals trash? That's your question. Do you have a project? I see some Okay, good evening. Sorry, we're a little bit late. We had a closed session item. And so we're just all getting into our seats. We'll give Dr. Daly a second to get back here. I'll ask IT if we're ready to go. Got the thumbs up. Thank you, sir. Scott, you're hiding in the back there. I see you. I'm hoping to hear from you in public comment. Just saying. Okay. Okay, we're all back. We'll go ahead and do the roll call. Madam Clerk, if you would please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Spencer Wong.
Present.
Councilmember Popescu.
Here.
Councilmember Rigsby.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Daly.
Here.
Mayor Duper.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We did have closed session with our council, so I'll ask council to.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We met in closed session on public employee discipline, release, dismissal, and there is no action to report. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you very much. We will now start with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Dr. Daly. Father God, we thank you for the many blessings you provide us that we live in a free country and a supportive city and neighborhoods. We pray especially for the people that are suffering from the fire devastation that we're experiencing, and we ask for your blessing on them. We ask now for your guidance and your blessing on our meeting tonight, and that we will make thoughtful decisions that are in the best interest of the city. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. City Manager, are there any items to be added or deleted?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll move on to public participation. This is the time where anyone from the general public can speak on a non-agendized item. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
We do not have any that registered. On,
Milford?
we have a gentleman who.
Yes. We'll get you right after, sir. He should just have his own standing agenda item.
Good evening and Happy New Year. It's good to see you all back in your beautiful council chambers again. This is a beautiful council chambers. I don't know who's involved with them. It's gorgeous. I wanted to just respond to a question that was asked a few council meetings ago relative to an individual who's going around on trash day and helping herself to items of trash, recycle items and so forth. And there were some questions about that at the time. But the law is that once it's out on the curb in the trash container, it belongs to CR&R. We are not going to take any action against this lady. She probably needs it more than anybody else. I don't know what her history is, but we would appreciate it if maybe once or twice, at least once, that code enforcement of the city would talk to her and let her know that that's the case. But we're not going to take it any further, but we wanted to set the record clear that it is in the possession of CR&R. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, sir, please come on up.
Good evening. My name is Folk Tam, and I live in 26475 Robin Court, Loma. This is my first time here. I'm not sure what to do, so I didn't register. I just submitted something earlier. The reason I'm here is that because I was late in my utility bills. I went to the cashier to inquire why it's late because I went through electronic transfer fund from School First. So the due date was December 16. I submitted my transfer fund on December 8. And from what I was given that I was late by 2 days, they said they received my payment on the December 18, which is 2 days later than the due date. And then I got a letter threatening to disconnect on the February 18. So, but the bill was already paid on December 18, and yet I'm still charged $24.92 for late fee, which is 10%. And I've lived here for 20 years, and this is the first time I encountered this. So I asked if they can waive my late fee. They said, well, we can't do anything. The computer doesn't allow us to do. So I was curious as to why the computer takes over the people's decision. So, so if it's possible, if it's possible, I would rather not pay the late fee. And she did suggest to me to come to the council meeting and plead the case. So here I am, first time here, wondering if I can be successful in waiving the late fee because it was 2 days late. The reason is it could be the bank, which I submitted on December 8, Sunday, assuming it takes 3 days for them to do all the paperwork to mail the check out because Loma Linda does not allow the bank to have a direct wire electronic transfer. Why, I do not know, because gas and electric, they allow people from the bank to does electronic fund transfer. So that will be the fastest way to get paid. Loma Linda does not allow it, so they have to go mail a check out. And if they mail it off on Wednesday, it should have gotten to Loma Linda because it's from Wetlands. So, yeah.
And I'd actually like Sonia to jump in because I know we've talked about this before, and I do believe there's something coming, correct?
Hi, good evening. We do have several ways of making payments. You can pay online, you can pay over the phone. And I know you probably did online bill pay.
Well, the bank does, because I go on to School First electronic payment, and that's how I pay my bill since electronic payment is allowed.
Yeah.
And it's only Loma Linda doesn't allow it to go through, so they have to.
Well, you are able to log in, do it. You can set up your account. You can set up payments. You can set up to pay automatically through the city's website, not through your bank.
That's something we haven't always had.
No, this is something
It's just,
new.
it's newer.
We've had it for a couple years, but there are.
The thing that I'm against logging into your account is because I need to give you your bank, my bank account
That's correct.
number.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Reading all those news that all this embezzlement and all that, I am willing to protect my money first, than giving my account to the bank, to your software. And as you know, everywhere you get hackers hack in. So can you guarantee me that if that happens, my money is still in my bank? So that's the reason I want the bank to transfer, because gas, other utilities, credit card, they allow it. Why Loma Linda doesn't allow it.
Well, for that same reason, the city cannot provide our bank account number to citizens because
well,
for that same reason, we are trying to
Yes,
protect the city.
I understand that part of it. So those are the things that you guys, you are the expert.
Mhm.
So I'm just trying to weigh my 24,
City
92
code,
cents.
Well, we can't officially discuss that because it's not an agendized item. We're precluded by law.
I understand that.
So
that's
the
why-
city manager will follow up with you on that.
Thank you for listening.
Of course. Okay, anybody else? Milford. Excuse me. And Scott, you can be on deck.
Again, Milford Harrison, sorry to take more of your time, but I had the same exact problem that this gentleman's talking about. And the problem is that Bank of America was sending our direct payments by check, not direct deposit. And I called, talked to the people in finance, and they said, well, we can do that. That's no problem. So I went back to the bank, and the problem was that the city is using a different zip code with the last 4 digits than is published, because I backed it up on both sides, and there's 2 different zip codes on the financial material, the billing material that comes out from the finance department. And I talked to the bank about that and changed it, and I think hopefully it'll work now.
Fixed it.
But I had a bigger late payment than that, and it was left. The bank sent it 8 days early. So.
Okay. All right. Technology, yes. Okay, we will move on now to our scheduled items. 2A is a presentation by Loma Linda Moms Group for support of a community Valentine's event. Ms. Zuniga.
Okay. I have a clicker, so I'll put your presentation that you can use to click through your presentation. Okay. Happy New Year's and good evening to the City Council of Loma Linda, the mayor, as well as the city manager and everyone else who is here in attendance today. My name is Melanie Hendricks, and I am here on behalf of the Gardening for Kids Committee, which is an informal group of residents of Loma Linda who are parents and we're passionate about seeing more activities that will help kids get exposed to the world of gardening. So I'm here to present to you today the Valentine's Garden Day for Kids with a theme of growing roots of love. And we have that theme because it will fall on Friday, February 14th, 3 to 5 p.m. on the National Day of Love. So that's why we have that theme. Okay. So there's a couple of things that we want to touch base on that we feel this event will provide to the community. We feel it will provide community engagement. We will have arts and crafts for kids. And the crafts that we selected for the kids is the do-it-yourself Valentine's Day cards. There's 2 steps in it. And the first is making watercolors using flower petals, vegetables, and fruit. And I did ask the community garden coordinator, Amy Jones, to bring a couple items so we could show you a demo of what creating watercolors will look like for the children. So, like for example, if you have red rose petals and you want to make watercolor, you would naturally think red. But let's say you have avocado peels. What watercolor do you feel you could create out of avocado peels? Does anyone know? Okay, so the color is pink. That's because there is a chemistry that happens behind creating these watercolors. You can add different things like lemon juice, baking soda. If you add lemon juice, it's more citric, it's more acidic, so it'll change the color. To like for this plant, if you were to add
Thank you.
lemon juice, it would change it pink. But if you were to add baking soda, it would turn green. So there is an educational component behind making these watercolors. The second step is to decorate Valentine's Day cards using the watercolors and then having the children collect forage materials in the garden in a designated area because we want to keep it safe, leaves, petals, etc., that they can glue onto the Valentine's Day card and make it beautiful, create masterpieces. Okay. Oh, can you hear me? Okay. So did you hand out? So you have all your supplies in front of you, and you can use the dropper to.
I didn't get a dropper, but that's all right.
Oh, okay.
Dump it, spoon it, or drop it.
How much should I put in?
As much as you want. The more you put in, the more the color will change.
If it blows, I'm gonna move it over here in case it blows up. Okay.
And then you'll just
Stir it around and watch the magic happen. Ooh.
Are we getting a pink?
You might want to add a little bit more.
What did you guys get?
So it's a very unique experience that the kids will have. That's lemon juice or some type of citric juice. Ooh. Okay.
What does the baking soda do?
Who has a baking soda? No, we don't want to add it if you've already added the lemon juice.
Don't
Yeah,
add it.
you need a. You
Like high
can.
school chemistry.
Okay.
If you remember, if you add the baking soda back into it, they're not listening. So if you add the baking soda back into it, it'll turn it back to its
To the original color.
because we're changing
Because you're changing the pH.
Yeah, the pH. Yeah. Can you? Okay. And this is actually
Kind of knew that.
this is a plant that we extracted the dye from.
What is it?
I'm not sure.
hyacinth bean
Hyacinth.
Okay.
from the garden, of course.
Okay, so the next component of the event is community connection. We want to connect with the community, so we'll have small prize giveaways, we'll have snacks, water, fresh fruit, apples, oranges, bananas. And of course, we want to stay connected with the community and hand out survey forms to every parent that attends so we can get their email contact and also get ideas for future events. The next thing we feel this event has a community impact, and it has the opportunity to promote health and happiness. So we are exposing children to a connection with nature. They'll be able to spend time outdoors versus indoors playing video games. And there's like mental benefits for building relationships within the city. And it also can help improve fine motor skills because they'll be painting and mixing and gluing. So that's another component to it. And the reason why we're here is to request funding. We've created an itemized budget, and it comes out to around $350. So as you can see on the budget, we would need cardstock, of course, for the Valentine's Day cards, watercolor brushes, glue sticks for the forage, disposable cups because it is a process. You do have to put hot water onto the organic material, which an adult will do. We don't want the children touching hot water, and put it into a glass jar, and the children will not touch the glass jars. But we will transfer it using a funnel into the disposable cups, so we need those. Water bottles and fresh fruit for the snacks, small prizes for the giveaways, survey forms. Of course, you want to add a couple decorations. And for the watercolor process, we need the jumbo craft sticks, cheesecloth, mason jars, of course, baking soda, lemon juice, and the 2 powders as well. So the total budget was $329. And I'll go ahead and so a couple days ago, we decided to figure out if there was any interest in the community for gardening activities. And when we were planning, we put the measure of success for 20 participants. And we did a pre-registration form and sent it to a couple parents, and the flyer sent it to a couple parents. Within a few hours, we had 34 people sign up, and we had to open up a wait list. 17 registrants were between the ages of 0 to 4, 18 registrants were between the ages of 5 to 12. So as you can see, the community is very interested in gardening activities for children. And I don't know if I can play this here, but it's a video of my daughter at the community garden. Children actually enjoy helping out in the garden once they're exposed to it. Oh. So I wanted to conclude by giving a special thanks to the City of Loma Linda for your continuous support at the community garden and your continuous efforts to help increase community engagement, and for allowing me to present. I'm a little nervous. And I also want to thank our planning team, Martha Zuniga. We also met with Rhonda Spencer Wong. She had a lot of great ideas, Anna West, Katie, or Kathy Ingram, and myself. So are there any questions?
I think you did phenomenal on your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Melanie, I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
Are you guys, well, number one, yesterday at Loma Linda Academy, they were asking if there's events, so they're gonna post your flyer. So
Okay.
that will go out all over Loma Linda Academy. So you may realize like people are just gonna show up. I bet you people may not register, so be ready that they're gonna like this. The second is, are you looking for, you have $329 is what, are you looking for support from us, or you just wanted to inform
Yes.
us, or what's the,
We're looking for support for the city to make this event happen.
What,
Yes.
Can I ask you a question? Is your capacity based on the cost, or is it capacity based on the infrastructure?
The infrastructure. We have to make
So
sure it's a safe
to limit to that
environment and
number.
have designated areas for the children. Yes. So we're hoping for support from the city. Okay.
This is an agendized item, so I mean, I guess we could take a motion on it, but it sounds like Jarb's going to make it happen, so.
Okay.
Sounds
and
like a
then
good
can
idea.
you come back and share with us like when you get your survey, I'd be real interested to see what people want, what they want for the garden. So if you guys can plan to come back and share about the event, how it went, and what you found out from the survey, we'd like that.
Absolutely. We will.
Pictures.
Lots of
Yeah.
pictures.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our next big item is a public hearing on a development project. And I know before we get started, we got to dispense with some business, correct?
Yes, it's my understanding that 3 of the council members may have conflicts under the Political Reform Act. So I would ask that you would, one at a time, of course, announce that conflict and I guess,
So my name is Rhonda Spencer, and I work in the School of Public Health at Loma Linda University. So I will recuse myself during the voting.
well,
Well-
and during the whole item, the
During the whole-
discussion and everything. Mhm.
I have a conflict because my wife works for the university. Thank you.
I have a conflict, so I will be recusing as well.
Now, under the rules, we need 3 sitting council members, and it's called the rule of necessity. So obviously, the mayor and Councilmember Daley are 2. So that means we requalify one of the 3 disqualified council members back in. And the way we do that is by drawing straws. So I have 3 straws. One has a vote sticker on it, and whoever draws that remains, and the other 2 leave the dais and go back into council chambers. So,
We haven't done this in a while, but it was pretty common for a while there. And I know Dr. Rigsby would always say, I want to do it by lots. It's going to take longer than the item. Oh, he's the voter. He's the voter. He got it. Okay, moving forward, Ms. Matarita.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Duper, councilmen, members of the public. My name is Lorena Matarita. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Loma Linda, and I will be presenting tonight's 1 public hearing item. So I will wait for Lynette to put the presentation. There we go. Okay.
Just a moment.
So the applicant is Loma Linda University Medical Center. They have submitted a precise plan of design application seeking approval for a 5-story, 105,000 square foot medical office building, which will serve as the Loma Linda University Children's Hospital Outpatient Pavilion / Pediatric Medical Office. It will be located at the southeast corner of Anderson Street and Barton Road, which is currently a surface parking lot. The development aims to centralize pediatric services, streamlining care, and reducing the need for families to visit multiple locations. This will improve coordination and accessibility for children with complex medical needs, benefiting both Loma Linda and the surrounding communities. As a reminder, council members, you might remember that there is a small box in the left-hand corner of your computer screen should you want to see the PowerPoint on your computers and not look up. Okay, so existing settings. So the project is located on a 5.84 acre parcel, though only 3.6 acres will be developed at this time. There are future plans for a new parking structure in the undisturbed area shown to the east or to the right, but that will be a separate submittal at a later time. To the north is Barton Road with nearby offices and residential buildings. To the south are the Kidney Center and Ronald McDonald House. To the east are residences, while the west is the Faculty Medical Office and P4 parking structure. And lastly, catty corner to the site is the 16-story medical center. The site is zoned institutional health care, surrounded by similar zoning, except for the multifamily area across Barton Road and to the east. The site plan shows the proposed 3.6 acre project site outlined in red, with the proposed building located on the northwest area of the parcel. Access to the site will remain from Barton Road and Anderson Street, with 382 parking spaces, primarily for the medical office. Some spaces within that undisturbed area to the right will continue serving the Ronald McDonald House as per their agreement. Additional improvements include drop-off areas, which are located south of the building, landscaping found within the parking lot and the perimeter of the site, as well as new lighting and pedestrian pathways. To confirm, the proposed project complies with all development standards. As for the landscaping plan, some of the trees that I've chosen to point out on the slide include the bottle trees along the perimeter, desert willows near the entrance, that's the ones with the pink flowers on the screen, and flaxseed paperbacks in the parking area. With 18,265 square feet of landscape parking area, the design exceeds the minimum requirements. The building will feature 5 floors, providing 150 exam rooms, along with additional supporting spaces. Access will be through the interior parking lot, identified with those 2 large black arrows on the screen. While not considered an official floor, the rooftop level will house and conceal the mechanical equipment. Here we see the north and east elevation facing Barton Road. And here we see the south and west elevation. The architectural style is contemporary and aligns with the character of the medical center across the street. At 90 feet tall, the building will feature clean geometric lines, reflective dichroic multicolored glass, and materials such as steel and aluminum, giving it a modern, sleek look. The design includes textured terracotta panels and vertical accents that enhance the building's professionalism. And lastly, its large windows ensures ample natural light within the interior spaces while creating a sense of openness. And here this rendering gives you a better idea of what the building will look like when it's finished. We also have a poster board up front if you guys want to get a closer look, as well as a material and color board right on the floor. In terms of the environmental review, a mitigated negative declaration, which is the environmental study for the project, was prepared in accordance with CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, studying areas like air quality, traffic, noise, and cultural resources. Following the 30-day public review period with State Clearinghouse, no issues were raised. The MND and Mitigation Monitoring Reporting Program are included in your packet tonight, and we are recommending adoption. Additionally, the project qualifies for a Measure V exemption as it further supports the institutional purposes of Loma Linda University. The public hearing notice for this project was posted on January 2nd at City Hall, the library, and the post office, our typical locations, and it was also made available on the city website and the project site. Yesterday, Mr. Bob Stewart visited to discuss ADA ramps and accessibility along the public right-of-way, and his comment letter is available, I believe has been provided to you on the dais. While ADA ramps may have been addressed during the plan check process, or will be, staff still recommends including ramp improvements adjacent to the site as a condition of approval. For other locations, Mr. Stewart mentioned JARD plans to pursue CBDG grant funding where appropriate. And just a couple hours ago, we received another comment letter from Mr. Kevin Burnett. He's in the audience, and I believe Lynette has also placed a copy on your desk for your review in the public record. So to conclude, staff is recommending that you adopt the initial study mitigated neg deck as well as its mitigation monitoring reporting program, and that you approve precise plan of design application P23180 for the new 5-story, 105,000 square foot medical office building. And that, of course, is based on the findings and analysis contained in your staff report and is subject to the conditions of approval. And here on the screen in red, I have also added what staff is recommending to be the added condition in terms of improving the ADA ramps that are adjacent to the project site. So that concludes my presentation. I am happy to answer any questions about the project and how it complies to city code. We also have the CEQA consultant from Romo Planning Group here in the audience in case you have questions about the environmental study. And of course, lastly, we have the university staff here on hand and ready to provide additional details as needed. Thank you.
Okay, this is a public comment or a public hearing, so I'm going to open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this project, please come forward. Kevin, even though you submitted a letter, you want to speak?
I did submit a letter. You could also opt to just read the letter. The only reason I had thought about reading it or speaking it was for the community members to understand it. But Mayor, if you prefer to just read the letter yourselves, or for the council, that's fine, but I could also read it for the benefit of the community. Let me know your preference.
So we'll just read the letter, unless you had anything else to add. Otherwise, you can read it.
I also have a few questions to ask the staff here. I would like to hear their answer to my questions, if possible.
Well, that's not really community prerogative generally, but we can read your letter. Dear council members and staff, I am Kevin Bernard, a doctoral candidate in public health at Loma Linda University and a committed resident of Loma Linda. As a member of the LLU Students for a Sustainable Future Committee and the LLUH Environmental Sustainable Committee, I am deeply invested in fostering sustainability and regenerative practices across our community and its institutions. I write today to provide feedback on case number PPD 23180, slated for your consideration during the January 14th, 2025 council meeting. I respectfully request the council ask the petitioner to submit an updated proposal that incorporates sustainable principles, modern technologies, and community-centered practices. Specifically, the project could benefit from the following recommendations. Number one, sustainable design and construction. Include LEED certified building designs, underground parking, and drought-resistant landscaping with community-supported gardens. Number two, active transportation infrastructure. Prioritize walkability and access to public transit, bike lanes, and pedestrian pathways to reduce reliance on automobiles. Number three, social and intergenerational connection. Incorporate communal spaces such as parks, gardens, and activity centers to foster social engagement and mental well-being. Number four, disability and universal access. Employ universal design principles to ensure inclusivity for all abilities. You guys know what I meant. Environmental regeneration. Adhere to exerscaping practices and incorporate renewable energy features such as solar panels and net zero energy designs. Number six, health and nutrition accessibility. Promote whole food, plant-based dietary habits by integrating local food markets and minimizing the presence of fast food outlets. Number seven, trauma-informed and purpose-driven design. Avoid hostile architectural elements and encourage spaces that promote mental, spiritual, and emotional wellness. These initiatives align with Loma Linda's unique Blue Zone designation and uphold the principles of holistic well-being, inclusivity, and sustainability central to our city's mission. Furthermore, collaborating with public and private stakeholders could enhance funding opportunities through state and federal programs, ensuring a sustainable and equitable future for all residents, especially in revenue creation for the city of Loma Linda. Thank you for considering these suggestions as we work together to create a healthier, more sustainable, and regenerative Loma Linda. Thank you, Kevin, for your input. Do we have any other speakers that are interested in coming forward? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and entertain questions or comments or a motion.
I have questions about what's happening to the parking that was there. I have personal experience policing that parking and designating that parking. And where are the physicians going to park? Where are the carpoolers going to park? I know there's a new building on the site, a new parking structure, and is that going to be designated for some of those purposes?
I'm Eric Schilt, Vice President for Planning, Design, and Construction for Loma Linda University Health. Thank you for your question. understand certainly that Loma Linda University Health understands the parking challenges specifically at our campus. So I'll start with during construction, because during construction we have some impacts. We are shifting parking out of what is the lot that's being taken over into a couple of locations.
Can you be specific
Yes.
about that?
Some of those are going into the top level of P3, and some of them are going into P1, which is the one right across from the church. So we monitor our occupancy of those structures on a weekly basis based upon our mean average over the last several months, probably more than a year. And there are some variations in the way we monitor that because there are events that occur, like when we were doing the solar project on the top of P4, that impacts parking, et cetera. But for the most part, when you normalize that information out, we have 181 spaces open on a daily basis in the north side of P1, and we have
Just for clarification, P1 is in front of the FMO.
P1 is the structure directly west of the church. So it's the lower part next that it's tied to P2. So it's
And P2 would be?
P2 is directly west of the campus too. So P2 is the taller structure that's on Campus Street, west side of Campus Street.
Okay,
There-
okay.
Yeah.
I know them well, I
Yeah.
just don't know the labels.
The
Right, so-
convention is that they're numbered from north to south, 1, 2, 3.
They have, yes, they've actually been, just in the order built is how they've been numbered, but
But 1 to 3,
yes.
it works.
So we have several hundred spaces available, and the J lot currently has an average of about 200 spaces open. Now, of course, there are some days that are more used than that. There are some days that are less. So in addition to these impacts, we also have our Shepherdson lot, which is directly east of the daycare center, and that has almost all its spaces open on a daily basis, and that has about 500 spaces. That will be overflow. Of course, that'll be temporary. There's challenges associated with that from a staff perspective, but we do have the capacity and the ability to deal with that via shuttle service, et cetera. So that is the temporary plan during parking. We are going to monitor it as construction starts and make sure that we make adjustments and reassign internal staff as necessary with the spaces we have available.
And what's the projected time frame for construction?
17 months. And then we will have a period of 3 months of licensing before it will actually be able to be utilized, 4 months before it can be
We're
utilized.
looking at 2 years, basically.
But correct, but we anticipate being able to use the parking structure, the surface spaces prior to having licensure. So it could be, we would project to be able to start using additional spaces in 17 months. Now, Lorena also mentioned the future parking structure. So though we could accommodate the parking compliantly as demonstrated here, electively, we would like to include more adjacent parking for this building specifically, and we will come to the council and go through the appropriate process for that, which we are currently working on. That is more of a long-term solution that we believe is best for the community and the campus and the building.
And the additional parking would be just east of
Directly
of
adjacent
the
to it,
building.
yes. And so when that would proceed, we would also talk about how we are handling parking in the interim during that project as well. It's certainly a challenge. We recognize it, and it's going to be tighter during the project, but we believe overall we have sufficient parking on our campus to be able to adequately deal with it during construction.
And you'll be running shuttles to distant parking?
When and if necessary, yes, from Shepherdson.
I know you, Eric, you're a good guy. If is kind of an optimistic perspective in my mind. Because when the parking shifted and we started requiring dental students to park down on Shepherdson, man, we heard about it big time. And that was half the distance that we're talking about now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm only saying if in that we are prepared for the need. And we understand that there will be upset people as a result of that. But during construction, we have limited resources, and so.
Are current FMO employees aware of all of this?
They are.
What kind of feedback are you getting?
Well, the initial
Some of those are probably in my constituency, and I'll hear from them if I don't hear about it now.
So the way we're shifting it, we're trying to keep pretty much everyone that's actually working out of the FMO or FMC south of Barton. So most of the impacts are going to be those that are not able to find spaces in P1 and P2 from the primary hospital. The early stages of the project at this stage, prior to doing the parking, prior to what will be that future project, we should be able to continue to house everyone on the main campus, including between P1, P2, and P3, based upon the fact that on average we use about 300 spaces in that lot out of 562, and we have sufficient capacity. Again, there might be a day or two where we have some overflow, which is why we're prepared for that. When we have to use Shepherdson, you take away the word if and say when we have to, we expect to have frustrated staff, but it's necessary to complete the project. We just don't have additional spaces adjacent, and I think that we're prepared to handle that with our staff internally.
As I discovered, the devil is in the details of the hierarchy of the parking spots. So I'm sure you've got a plan for that. Prioritization. You know, who gets the close stuff, who gets the medium stuff. Yeah.
It's a complicated equation, but yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm supportive of the project. I understand you got funding in hand and you've got deadlines and so forth. I get all of that. I'm supportive of it. I really am. I'd probably still have color in my hair if I hadn't to deal with parking issues when I was with the university years and years ago. So I am sensitive to it. And I hope that the university and medical center administration will be, because it's a big deal. It's a big deal. I don't mind walking. I mean, I'm an old guy that I read on the internet all the time. One of the most important things is avoid loneliness and walk. So I walk, and I'm certainly not lonely. But I just don't want that. I don't want to just overlook that, because I think it's more significant sometimes than administrators like I was years and years ago. I think sometimes it's easy for us to kind of overlook that stuff.
I think your sensitivity to it's appropriate, and it's certainly something we're well aware of. We've had many discussions already, and we'll continue to make sure, I think, as the project unfolds and the condition potentially worsens with the addition of a structure, that we have a proactive plan, communicating well, and understand that there is going to be some frustration no matter how we get through it, but that in the end it's going to result in, and hopefully our staff and the community understands, improving the condition in which we're creating, right? Additional parking, consolidation, and community benefit for the project itself. So it's really the process itself that is the challenge. It is temporary, and we think we can communicate that effectively.
And I understand that, and kudos to the university. I mean, you have built structures to help handle parking issues in the past, and you know, as far as I know, that's worked out pretty well. So I understand the long-term benefits. But if I start getting phone calls, I'm going to find your number and tell them you said it would all work out.
Understood.
I'll share the fun.
Okay.
Just very proud of what you guys are doing, and this looks pretty awesome, and excited to be part of it. So I think next thing all we need is a motion.
Did you have a comment?
Well, I was just saying, we're also going to have to make sure that there's no spillover onto the neighborhood streets. We've got our system of parking permits, and we'll have to just enforce that and make sure everyone knows at the FMO that that's not an acceptable place to park.
No.
Yeah. And before
says the representative of that district.
Yeah, well, we both are. We're right on the line there. Regarding Kevin's letter, do you have any response? He's made 7 recommendations. Several of them I'm not sure I really understand. But you want to address any of them?
Yeah, I would say address them broadly and note that I know that Kevin sits on our sustainability committee, as do I. So many of the, I guess I would call them requests or bullet points noted in the letter, I think are much larger, broader, and not necessarily applicable to this building, though I understand the building's construction would potentially fit into our larger strategy. So understand those and support them. I think Loma Linda is philosophically in alignment with the direction that Kevin conveyed. Some of the specifics he noted, we do have sustainability components built into the project, like solar, like EV charging, et cetera. But some of the specific ones, like an underground structure and LEED certification, are not part of the project now, to be direct. Those sort of things, while ideal, also cost significantly more, and Loma Linda University Health typically tries to be balanced in our approach to use of the dollars. In this instance, this is being funded by the state of California in CHAFA funds, which was a Prop 4 that was voted on in November of 2018. So we're trying to make sure we're trying to find the right balance of being stewards of those dollars for this specific project. As it unfolds, if any additional opportunities come up and or those fit in with Loma Linda's broader strategy for sustainability, we will certainly consider and incorporate those. And that strategy continues to be underway on the campus and the institution as a whole. So that work is ongoing. So that's kind of a broader response, but that's probably where I would conclude my comments.
So if I can just be specific, when on number 4, disability and universal access, employ universal design principles to ensure inclusivity for all abilities. I'm not sure I entirely understand that, but I'm certainly in harmony with the intent,
Yeah.
I think.
Yes, so,
Can you address that?
and I'm not certain that, that is a little bit vague as well, but we comply with all ADA standards and requirements. Those are more necessary and more broadly implemented on all projects. They typically are required more and more as building code evolves. And so those are included. Things like Braille on signs are included, and those are just, at this point, standard for all of our projects and standard frequently in building code. So outside, specifically, I believe we comply with the intent of what that is suggesting. I don't know whether there's anything else that may be above and beyond code that would not be addressed in the project, but I could certainly listen to it and meet with Kevin or others if those come to fruition.
With that, I will move the project. I support the project and move it.
Are you addressing both recommendations? There's the CEQA and the
You
precise
tell
plan
me
of
what I
design.
should be doing, and that's what I'll try to comply.
You can do them both together or one at a time.
I'll do them both together.
And then there was also staff's recommendation for the added condition about the ADA improvement adjacent to the site.
Which is basically, in a sense, the letter that we got from Bob Stewart.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
So that's on the city, though. That's not on the applicant, right? That's more on,
Sorry, for the areas adjacent to the site, the existing driveways, that the university update those areas to be ADA compliant. We're asking that you add that condition tonight to the project.
and Eric, do you guys have any concerns with that?
Are we talking about the 12 to 15 pedestrian auto interfaces?
He's fine with it.
Huh?
He's okay with it.
Okay. Okay. They're good with that staff recommendation.
Oh, okay.
We can shorten it. Okay, so I think we can move forward with the motion.
Just add it.
Yeah,
You
Add
should
it.
move that with the staff recommendation.
With that, I second.
Madam Clerk?
Motion is to adopt the initial study, mitigated negative declaration, and the mitigation monitoring reporting program prepared pursuant to the CEQA guidelines for the proposed pediatric medical office building, to approve precise plan of design number P23-180 to develop a new 5-story, 105,000 square foot medical office building that includes surface parking, patient drop-off and loading areas, landscaping, and site lighting. This project is for the project located at the southeast corner of Anderson Street and Barton Road in the Institutional Healthcare Zoning District. This approval is based on the findings and analysis contained in the staff report and subject to the attached conditions of approval with the addition of staff's added condition on improving ADA ramps adjacent to the project site. I'll take your vote, please. Motion carried. Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, we were ready to move on with the consent calendar.
Move it.
We have first and a second. Madam Clerk.
Motion is to approve the consent calendar as submitted. Please vote. Can you try it one more time, please? Thank you.
Takes like a couple seconds to recognize it too.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, now we're moving on to 5A, Council Bill R-2025-01. It's consideration to adopt a resolution in opposition of the South Coast Air Quality Management District Rule 1111 Amendment, regulating air emission from gas-powered appliances. This is something I'm bringing forward on behalf of Cal Cities and some other cities and council members locally. If you didn't know, AQMD was getting ready to vote recently on a rule amendment that would preclude if your gas water heater, your gas stove, your gas furnace were to go down, you would have to replace them with all electric appliances, effective immediately. There was enough opposition that they pushed their official vote back, but they're still planning to vote on this in an upcoming session, AQMD. So I believe that vote's supposed to take place in possibly February. There is a growing concern that will unduly affect not only people of low income status, various communities and groups like that, but it also, there's some safety issues as we've seen recently with the wildfires in Los Angeles. So as some of our residents have unfortunately experienced, Edison, in an abundance of caution, has turned off the power on many different grids as to fear that the winds and some of this dry conditions will start fires. So clearly I've personally had residents call me. I know Ron has, and I think probably you guys have as well, that have been without power for days here in our city, let alone the city of Grand Terrace, which has been without power for almost over a week. And so this move to outlaw everything but electric appliances is probably not the best thought out at this point. But it seems like a majority of the AQMD board would like to push this through. So our proposal here is with council support to issue or adopt a resolution in opposition along with many other cities and forward that along for when and if that vote does take place. Any comments, concerns, thoughts?
I move it.
Second.
Was there a second?
Yes.
Oh,
You have any comments or thoughts?
I'm going to speak in opposition to the proposal. There was a vigorous debate in SBCTA meeting, San Bernardino County Transportation Authority meeting, about this. And the sentiments that you just expressed were widely accepted and debated. I'm voting in opposition to this, and in part because, my wife's a pediatrician. I've heard and seen her try to deal with some of the asthma and related impacts on pollution. One of my best friends is a pulmonary intensivist, and I hear him and my wife talk about issues. And the bottom line is, it's not that this is going to resolve that. It won't. But we got to bite the bullet at some point and begin to deal with the pollution issues that we're dealing with. It has very significant, scientifically proven health impacts. And in my view, as a healthcare focused community, I'm ready to grab at any opportunity to deal with some of these climate related issues that we can. So even though this isn't a significant step to resolve the kinds of big issues we're talking about with pollution, we got to bite the bullet and start someplace. So in my view, it's not that big a deal to make changes. My daughter lives in Escondido with her family, and they're in a community that's been all electric for some number of years. They haven't suffered from it. And one of the points that was emphasized in the SBCTA discussions was developers are saying they can't build low-income housing if they have to do this. That's a lame argument in my view. So I support anything that we can do to attempt to have even small impacts on the climate issues that we're facing, and certainly in Southern California, especially with what's been happening for the last week and a half. So it's a small step, but I don't think it's the issues that are being raised in opposition to it. They may be valid on a financial level at some degree, but I don't think it's substantial. So I'm opposed to this motion.
I'll give you a little rebuttal and see if you want to change your mind.
Not likely.
So I received a phone call from an elderly couple here in Loma Linda that was very cold because of the power being cut off at their house. And they live in a house with electric furnace, electric stove, but a gas water heater. And very specifically, the conversation last Thursday was they could not cook and they could not heat their house because the power was shut off, because we live in a high fire danger area. Most of Southern California is that way. I appreciate other parts of California like San Diego and Northern California don't have those same concerns. The one solace that they had was they have a gas hot water heater, and they were able to take warm or hot showers to get warm. And this was an older couple. I think putting the cart before the horse is forcing some type of choice or decision on everybody. And I think the economic point is not so much about developers and new housing. The current rules would force and mandate, if you are somebody who's struggling and maybe an underprivileged community and your water heater goes out, you would then be required to purchase an electric water heater, which your house may not be outfitted for, and then potentially have to spend thousands of dollars to run electricity or do those types of things, those modifications, because there's no exception to any of that, the way this rule is written. So this same body is also talked about outlawing generators. Let's think about that for a moment. So what's everybody running to?
That's not what we're addressing now.
Correct, but this is the same thinking by the same folks. So we end up in a situation where Edison cuts off the power, and you may or may not have a generator because you may or may not have been allowed to buy one. What do you do if your sole choice is one or the other? You don't have the option to have an electric stove or a
Yeah,
gas
so
stove.
let me address that point before
Because what you're saying is everything based on the environment, not the human condition,
No.
not survivability.
That's not what I'm saying entirely. I spoke with Southern California Edison today, Mark, what's his name? Cloud. Lengthy, very robust discussion that I appreciated, and he helped me understand some things that I frankly didn't know. And he has agreed, I need to work with Jarb on this, to come to our next city council meeting and do a report from Southern California Edison, but because of the issues Grand Terrace is having, he was already committed to be up there during our meeting. So I look forward to his presentation. But he was describing programs that I've never heard of or read about to help support people that are making these transitions. Multiple, significant, some that even I would qualify for. So I don't think it's an all or none. I think there's a transition plan in place as well.
No, it's an all or none vote.
Well, then you can address that with Mark if we get him here.
No, it's not Edison. I'm talking about AQMD.
Yeah, but I'm talking about their support money that Edison will provide in the transition. Significant money.
It doesn't help you when they turn off the power. I mean, we just agree to disagree on this.
We agree to disagree. You're right.
Still love you.
I interrupted.
Still my hero. No.
I'm waiting for Edison to be forced to burn switchgrass instead of gas. Then we'll see who's in favor of it or opposed. The problem is, economically, Edison is conflicted in this thing because they're on the receiving end of more business. Not that they're allowed to make any profits of any significance anyway, but the point is a whole bunch of oxes are going to be gored in this process of decarbonizing humanity. And one at a time, the things that you like to do are being taken away from you. And at what point is the straw going to arise that breaks the camel's back? For some of us, this is one of those. For one of us, it's not.
And I will tell you, I'm very much committed to doing everything we can to keep our environment clean, but at a personal cost to me and my family, that's where I have to draw the line at some point. And if humanity pushes the world to the breaking point where it all implodes, my Christianity has another part of that takes over. But in purpose of survival and all that, I can't go along with some of these things personally.
And if you think the economics of this are the difference between survival and not survival, you and I are seeing very, very different pictures on this. This is not that substantial.
No, I think there's
a transition. There's transition funding to assist with it. So I just want to be clear on the facts.
There's two issues. There's two issues. There's the economics, but then there's the cold hard fact that Edison will continue to de-energize the power grid. And I don't care how many bicycles you spin, you will not be able to generate your own power to sustain all of those appliances in your house. Even the way the monopoly works is even people with solar contribute, but they were cut off. People with solar panels who don't pull power off the grid had their power turned off. You know how many people have complained to me about how they don't understand that? Because wait a minute, I'm contributing to that power. But the threat that I don't want to make them the bad guy, but the pressure they've been put under, they're going to continue to shut off power probably more frequently than all of what we're seeing in LA is going to accelerate that. Because the more they get blamed for these types of events, the more in caution they're going to react. And my fear is we are creating a new normal. So when they cut off the power, that's my concern is twofold. There's the economic part, but let's put that aside. And I'm not going to suffer from the economic part, right? Most of us here on this dais are not. We can work our way around that. But my concern is when I have only one option and that option gets turned off and I have zero options, I am not going to put my family at risk that way. That's just where I'm at. So,
Okay.
Cool.
I think, well, I actually am support of the letter. I think just in general terms, there's always been an effort to get us off, the use of carbon-based fuels and going to electricity. And we all agreed that there's definitely a benefit to the environment for that. But the question is at cost. And if it was that easy transition, I think everybody would be buying an electric car because there's all these incentives. In the end, is not the incentive of the transition, is the cost of ownership. I did a quick study. It costs twice as much to run your gas stove on electricity than it is gas. So a lot of reasons, the reason there is a lot of gas-powered utility appliances is because the cost of ownership. So it's not just, oh, it's cheaper and there's all these incentives. So you have to look at the bigger picture, and those are the facts. So I know you referred to facts. But in the end, if you try to mandate electrifying the whole grid, our grid cannot even take the existing needs. So we're just putting ourselves into a bigger and bigger hole. And I haven't seen enough evidence that I'm taking a hot shower using a gas stove and I'm hurting the environment. I've probably seen more evidence of factories and very terrible lawnmowers and cars doing that, but not cooking in my house or warming up my house. So I'm very much in support of this.
Okay. Thank you for the comments, though. All right, Madam Clerk.
Motion is to adopt Council Bill Number R-2025-01, a resolution opposing the South Coast Air Quality Management District Rule 1111, regulating air emissions from gas-powered central furnaces, and Rule 1121, regulating air emissions from residential-type natural gas-powered water heaters. Please vote. Motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to reports of council members.
Just to follow up on a comment that I already made, and that is that I had a lengthy and very fruitful discussion because with
Mark Cloud.
Thank you, from Southern California Edison, and he's agreed to be here next week if we can agendize it, to do a presentation to help us understand, because I've had several complaints from constituents in my district regarding how come my power has been shut off for a couple of days and across the street they've got power. And I don't have a good answer for that. And he explained some things regarding how the grid works, how the power system works, what the issues are. He readily acknowledged there are issues and they're working on them and the type of progress they've made. So I'm looking forward to him doing a presentation next month, if we can work that out. And he seems ready and willing.
I can probably spit some stuff out at you, not at you directly, but if people are watching this or they're curious. So our power circuits are not uniform. And so it's very hard once you look at some, they have some resources on their website too where you can look at it. I mean, some of these circuits look very oblong, random shapes that pick out certain neighborhoods and others are not included. And you may be in a neighborhood with perfect, the way it was described to me is you may be in a neighborhood with perfectly safe electricity. It's built underground, it's modern, but your grid is connected to a grid that's above ground, that's older, and that power gets to you by going through that older section. And so anywhere that's a high fire risk, and this started, if you guys are keeping track, this started with the Paradise Fire up north. The state went after PG&E or whatever power company is up there, went after them criminally, not civilly, they went after them criminally. And with each one of these major events that happens, they're now facing both civil and criminal penalties. And so, like Dusty eloquently put it, they're serving two masters, right? I mean, it's Edison. They want us to go all electric, but yet they also know that they're going to get blamed for every single one of these things that happens. And whether or not they are responsible or not, and there's probably some debate on that. I have personal opinion. I don't think, I think it's very technically possible for downed power lines to start fires, but I also don't believe that's what's occurring. That's too random. And you work off of facts and data. I can tell you my belief, and the media won't put it out there, is I think a lot of these things are started by arson. So, unfortunately, though, Edison will get sued as the lawsuits have already started. So as more and more of this happens, and if you don't think the $40 to $60 billion in cost in LA is going to affect all of us, stand by, because all of our insurance rates are going to go up. And I guarantee you now it's going to push companies like Edison, PG, and anything, all these other companies to further carefully evaluate when they should or shouldn't turn things off. And even like Mr. Popescu said, our current grid can't even sustain what we have. And so to me, we should be talking about how we build that up before we even talk about putting more strain on it. But I feel like, I don't want to be doom and gloom, but we're in a new world, and this is going to start happening more and more. And, you know, if you do believe in climate change could mean more winds, more heat, and more stuff like that coming to Southern California. So, yeah, they're between a rock and a hard place. So I don't like it happens when I have elderly people that call me and tell me they're cold. I don't like hearing that. But I think it's going to happen more. So I would encourage you all to go buy generators before they're outlawed. Sorry. Yes, sir.
Just a general comment. I wasn't here at the last council meeting, but I did watch it, and I wanted to commend staff and especially JARB for, after completing our audit, finding that we actually had an increased balance of almost $2 million that was added to our general reserve. And I think that's a testament of the good management and performance of all of our staff. And I just want to commend them on that. And not to be adding to the gloom and doom, but I'm also a big believer that every economic cycle is going to go through its regular cycles. And we are due for another major, I believe, recession. And I think having our reserves be as large as possible is going to really help us weather those storms. Well, there's going to be a lot of other cities in our area that when that happens, they're going to be in big trouble. So I think Loma Linda is in very good shape. We want to continue to maintain that great pathway that we're on. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Officers?
Yes, sir. I would like to remind that at the next city council meeting, there will be a workshop at 5:30 in our EOC for the training. So it just happened. We planned this before what happened in LA. So this way you know what to do during the emergency. So
Last time we had one of those, there was mud flowing through the city.
yes.
Okay, that concludes our city council meeting and city council agenda. Madam Clerk, do you have a preference on where we go next?
The Housing Authority, please.
Okay. We'll move on to the Housing Authority. Go ahead and open the Housing Authority. Mr. City Manager, any items to be added or deleted?
No, sir.
Anyone from the public wishing to speak on a non-agendized Housing Authority item, please run forward. Scott, we're going to have one more shot at this, Scott, so I'm just telling you, you got to queue it up. Seeing nobody come forward, we'll move on to the consent calendar.
Move it.
Second.
First and a second, Madam Clerk.
I'm running a little slow on the software, but motion is to approve the consent calendar on the Housing Authority agenda. I may have to take your verbal vote because I'm having some
it's like
technical
really
difficulty
slow.
here. Motion is to approve the consent calendar. I will take your vote verbally. Councilmember Spencer Wong. Support. Councilmember Popescu.
Yes.
Councilmember Rigsby.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Daly.
Aye.
Mayor Duper?
Affirmative.
Motion carried. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Any old or new business, reports of officers or members? Seeing none, we'll move on to the successor agency. Any items to be added or deleted there, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, anyone from the public wishing to speak on a non-agendized successor agency? I'm not even going to call you, Scott, so don't even look over here. Please run forward. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar.
Move it.
Second.
Motion is to approve the consent calendar on the successor agency agenda. I will take your vote. Councilmember Spencer Wong,
Support.
Councilmember Popescu,
Yes.
Councilmember Rigsby.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Daly,
Aye.
Mayor Duper.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any old business, new business, reports of members or officers? Seeing none, that'll conclude that agenda, and we are done for the evening.